time we're going? Not quite.
Yeah, baby.
Yeah, it's been a while.
And we're back.
It's been, was it before I went to Europe? Did we record since I got back?
No.
Dang. So pre-June. It's been like almost 2 months.
Pre-June.
Dang.
Yeah, I was going to say something quippy.
Well, it's
I
not.
decided not to be a quipper.
This is also public. All right, let's do this. Enneagram. Let's continue it. Okay, and here we go.
The endless Enneagram.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Shrink Think podcast. We are excited to be back here. I know as you're listening to these episodes, you're probably like just binging one after another, so they kind of all sound the same, but for us, it's actually been a while since we've recorded. I was on a 2-week trip to Europe. I was in Paris for about 5 days and then Italy for about 10, 11 days or so.
Yeah, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, rough life. I'll say, I mean, it was great. My buddy and I saw all the things, all the sites that we got to see, ate some great food, drank some amazing wine. It was rough the last day, though.
There's no wine left in Europe.
It's gone. We drank it all. There's now a shortage. I would not be surprised. But it was delicious. And I will say that it was rough, though, because we got tired of all the traveling, the walking, the sightseeing. I mean, on the very last day, let me just put it to you like this. This is how bad it was. We had to cancel going anywhere to the coast or traveling around anywhere.
They're like, well, I'm not doing anything today.
Yes, and I was drinking some limoncello, and that's what they do. So we've got an exciting episode for you today. Thank you for having me back and for joining us. We're going to continue the Enneagram series that we've been talking about. We took a little break from that to talk about some other topics, but we want to round some of this out. Now, if you remember, from way back when, the Enneagram is this circle that's got 9 points on it. And those 9 points are broken into 3 sets of 3, essentially. And those 3 sets of 3 are called triads. And the first triad that we talked about was the body triad, which is at the very top of the circle. The numbers 8, 9, and then 1. And as you continue around clockwise, you've got another little triangle triad there that includes the numbers 2, 3, 4. And then in another episode, we will be talking about the last triad, which is the head triad, and that includes numbers 5, 6, and 7. So today we're going to be talking about the heart triad, numbers 2, 3, 4, and this happens to be one of my favorite triads because I happen to be smack dab in the middle of it as an Enneagram 3 myself.
Yeah, me too. I'm a little 2-er.
Or
maybe a big 2-er. Let's just walk away from that.
Let's break the
I feel
wrist
too
and
ashamed.
walk away. Yes. Well, so speaking of shame, that is like one of the core issues. We're just going to jump right in. I guess we're talking about the heart triad. You mentioned shame. Each number and each number on the triad has kind of a predominant struggle. So that the heart triad is called the heart triad because the feelings or the emotions of this triad are like the defining feature of the numbers 2, 3, and 4. They feel deeply, they experience the world through their emotions. The 3 in particular, kind of at the middle of that triad, both feels emotions strongly and also is kind of hidden from their feelings. They have trouble often knowing what they're feeling. The other one
Yeah, well, we just lost video.
I don't know what's happening. All right, we've been having some of these troubles. Thanks for bearing with us. I don't know what's going on here.
And we're back.
Our studio, but we're back. So shame is the one that really kind of tells us that it's not just that I did something bad, but that I am bad. And so for these numbers, they typically have to like work. They have to do something, whether it's helping somebody or perform or achieve or stand out some way to be special or unique in order to have value and worth. If they don't have those things, then the people in these numbers can really struggle with a lot of like self-worth. And particularly, for example, in the number 4, they can sink really deeply into depression because they struggle with like not knowing that they're special or unique. That's kind of the one I was describing there. So that's kind of the brief overview of the heart triad. But Nate, I want to give you a chance to jump in with
Thank you, Aaron.
your little two-ness.
Right. Well, actually, I have a question. So back in the body triad, there's the anger component, right? So this is shame. And if I remember correctly, the 9s, so it's 8, 9, 1. The 9s don't really even know that they're angry. And then they all of a sudden are. The 8s know that they're angry. And I don't remember the 1s off the top of my head.
The 1s are angry. The 8s are angry outwardly toward other people,
that's
typically,
right.
and the 1s are angry inwardly toward themselves. But often, like the 9s, they admitting their anger can be really difficult.
That's right. Okay, so is there a similarity of some kind with the heart triad, where each 2, 3, 4 kind of responds, I don't know, in particularly different? I mean, you kind of were speaking to it a little bit, but I'm kind of wondering if there is a way to tease that out more, or if it's just not a thing for the 2, 3, 4.
No, not as much. Not that I'm aware of, and maybe there's somebody out there that's developed something or knows something that's bridges that similarity, but not that I know of. If I'm getting more specific about the numbers, just briefly, I kind of mentioned it a second ago, but the 2 is considered a helper. The 2s really like to take care of other people. They're often nurses. Counselors can definitely be 2s. They care a lot for other people. 3s are your achievers, your performers, people that will do a lot, accomplish a lot, or love to be in the spotlight, for example. And then your 4s are, I don't remember the name of them. I should have thought.
There are a lot. If I remember right, they have more to do with being like they're artists,
Mm-hmm.
and they really kind of want to develop their own kind of special niche in the world, and they can get, well, like you kind of mentioned, they can get really swept up in it because depending on the health and unhealth of how their response is, that's from what I remember.
Yeah, they might be called the individualist, for example.
Yeah. I think they are actually
somebody that really kind of wants to kind of be their own unique person, be different from everybody else, develop their own sense of style or identity, that sort of a thing. But a lot of that, I think, really comes from like the heart, right? They can kind of be what's the term? Romantic or
passionate.
Yeah, passionate, but like like what's the word? I can't even think about it. Like romancers, people who are romantic.
Yeah, that would work.
Because they kind of look at the world through this ideal romantic lens from the heart of like, oh, the world could be this way, should be this way, but it's not. So there's like, yeah, kind of, but it has the word like romance or romantic in it or whatever. And so anyway, they kind of look at the world as not kind of similar to the 1s in the way that it should be, but it's not like in the right way. It's kind of more of like a romantic, like this would be ideal, this would be like really wonderful and loving and that sort of a thing. 4s also, I believe, as a number, struggle with envy. In addition to shame, like shame is like the core component that every number in this triad struggles with.
So in that way, a 4 would look out at the world and go like, oh, somebody else understands or gets this better than me, and I'm a pile of crap for it.
Or they get attention, or they get something more unique than me, or they have something that's, everyone has it. Like the it's kind of like the 4 on the Enneagram is the one that's envious of everybody else. Oh, the other numbers are so cool. You have something, and I'm just like this depressed pile of, artistry and creativity or something like that. Like they're just looking at every other person or every number as like better than them because they feel like they don't belong.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And so then that's how the shame works, like as far as how they get sucked in. So how does the 3 get sucked into shame?
Well, by performing, right? The 3, in a sense, is like on the Enneagram is like the 3 and the 8s have like the most energy and they can accomplish the most, but people will say that the 3 will just go crazy for accomplishments and performance because and they will drive and drive and drive to no end. They will hurt themselves, tire themselves, wear themselves out because they believe that their worth is in what they do, but that it's a hamster wheel because that bar is continually getting higher. If I've achieved this, well, then maybe I can achieve the next thing, and then the next thing, and the next thing. But it's a hamster wheel, right? Because it never stops. If I stop achieving, then my worth is in question because I'm not doing something, and I can only be valuable and worthy if I'm doing something. So I can have to continue to perform and achieve and get better at things.
So to avoid that feeling of shame, the 3 is going to have to schedule their relaxation or else they're lazy.
Yes. That's actually, you're not wrong about that. And this is kind of funny because I will work with a lot of like high achieving people, and from the internal family systems perspective, we talked about in a previous episode that we all often have these managers, like a part of us that is sort of like a narrator or a manager that's sort of telling us what we should do, sort of keeping us in check. 3s often will have very strong managers absolutely telling us, well, it's okay, I need to perform now it's time to like take a break and I need to relax. And so when I'm working with people, I'll be telling them, you need to stop doing and just be. And then their manager will like pull out a notepad and paper and be like, okay, what are the steps to that? Okay, so first I need to do this, and then I can do that, and I could kill this being thing really. And I'm like, you're not being, you're doing. Right? Stop doing. Put it down. Just relax. Okay, so how should I relax? What are the steps to relaxation? Right? I'm gonna be the best relaxer. I'm gonna be more relaxed than anybody that's ever relaxed.
What are you doing right now? Killing it relaxing. What are you doing?
That's not too far off. Depending on the health and unhealth of the 3, for sure.
That's awesome. Okay, so I'm a 2. And I'm trying to think of, like, how is it that I get sucked into the shame machine? I think, go ahead.
Yeah, the 2s are helpers, right? So they get their value and worth by giving to other people, by being valuable to other people.
They certainly do.
And in some senses, it can be seen as selfless, but in many ways, it's actually very self-serving. And
except for with me, but I understand. Keep
right, it already doesn't work on this.
Right.
You really have to, I think, you do have to do the work to understand that you get a sense of fulfillment and pride for like, oh, I'm valuable, or I'm cared about because I've done something for somebody else. So instead of performing and doing and achieving like a 3, the 2 is helping other people. It's giving, it's caring, it's sacrificing. 2s often will be the person, if there's like a party or if there's an event that's happening and you ask a 2 to help out, they'll be like, of course I'll be there. They'll be like setting up chairs, putting tablecloths on tables. They will be doing all of the things, right, to help out. They'll be there early and stay late because they're like acts of service. It's like, this is the way that I can be helpful to other people. And so part of the way that they can get sucked into shame is if they're not recognized or acknowledged for what they're doing, they will give and give and give and be like, oh, I'm so happy to give and I just love to help you. And at some point, if it's not being recognized, they will become resentful.
Yeah, and well, as you're saying that, this is like you're reading my newspaper.
I'm exposing you.
Yeah, I don't like it. But I would say the recognition piece doesn't have to be huge. I think it's more that the noticing, like you have to have an effect. Like there has to be some kind of effect. It doesn't necessarily mean that you need a hand clap, because I think in that way it's maybe different than a 3 might need to know that they've achieved something and be thanked for it. I don't know that, like, cause as you're saying that, I'm like, I totally do that. I totally do all that.
I think you might say something like this. A 2 might want appreciation, right? Just to be appreciated for what they've done. And a 3 might want admiration for what they've achieved.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that. I think it's interesting because I think back over the course of my life, and what I'm wondering right now is I'm integrating the fear triangle. And I think us 2s are probably very natural rescuers.
100%.
And so I had like the codependency thing for a 2 is so easy to get sucked into, because we are trying to get the same help that we're giving. So what we really want is exactly what we're doing. Mm-hmm. You know, we want to be served. We want somebody to come and care for us that way. And so if it's not happening, I think that's where some of the anxiety comes in. And then we just like, try harder. Let's just do more. And that's where I think the selfishness, unhealthiness comes in, is you've got to just keep doing and doing and doing. But the doing is not the same as the 3.
No, it's not. As a 3 myself, the doing is like, I need to feel like I'm the best, or I am competent. A lot of my friends and colleagues will say, and these words I think are very accurate, there's a feeling of I need to be excellent at everything that I do. I can remember, like, when I play golf, for example, I don't play that often because I'm terrible at it, and it drives me crazy because no matter how hard I try, I'm bad at it. But I play it also because I know that I need to just enjoy, I need to just have fun. Or if I've tried something for the first time, I want to get it down because I have the feeling of like, I need to be excellent at this. And so I have to continually challenge myself to be like, it's okay if I'm still learning, or if I didn't know something, or if I made a mistake. I'm not a failure, aka I don't need to experience shame just because I failed or messed up or made a mistake. It's okay because I'm learning. And that's a hard place for a 3 to be in, because they continually had to keep doing things. Yeah. So maybe for a 2, they're looking, I'm just kind of making this up from what I know, a 2 is looking for appreciation. A 3 might be looking for admiration, and I think a 4 is looking for affirmation. You are special,
right?
In your own way, right?
So let's separate that out maybe even more, because as you were talking, I think I care more about specialness than I would like excellence. So like I don't care if I'm the absolute best about something, when that's like most things, but you put me in some situations and I am absolutely going to try to be the best at it.
Yeah, we all have like elements of the other numbers in us for sure.
But I would care more about the uniqueness and specialness of a situation, of being that the recognition of, because it gets to the core of who I am. So like, which is again that shame component, right?
Right.
Shame does the same thing.
It connects with your identity.
Right. So good shame, which I kind of hate that, to be honest, but would be still that connection. Like, so if you recognize like, oh, this is like something that I did, and it highlights the specialness of me while at the same time being seen, so then I'm like, I'm on top of the world at that point. Like, this is great. But it goes the other way. It can go absolutely the opposite direction with into the nastiness. But then I'm saying that because I'm thinking, as you were talking about the 4, I'm like, there is I feel like 4s are supercharged on the uniqueness standpoint. Like, they always have one more thing that they find out that they don't measure up. Like, I think 4s being close to 5s on the circle there. 5s are your researchers. The 4s I've met do a lot of research typically. And so they're not the same as a 5, but they will understand something and think, oh, I could be unique. And then they learn one more thing. No, I'm not. Like,
right. Exactly. That's kind of the thing. It's like 4s might experience themselves as being like doing something or being a certain way, and it has some goodness or some good quality. But then it's like they look up and see somebody else who's better, or who's getting more attention or more affirmation or acknowledgement or something, and then feel left out, feel like they don't belong, feel like they're now nobody. It's like they'll sink down very quickly into that pit of despair. which can be a huge struggle because those emotions of the 4 can really swallow them up, and they can get stuck in that.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting because a lot of 4s are very artistic, and they're very able to express like things that can't be as defined in language. Like they could, they make some artistic rendering of something, and you as a viewer feel all these things, and you connect to it. And even then, they're like not happy with it sometimes.
Right.
And
you're like, wow, this is amazing. I know, this is my throwaway piece.
right. 18,000 mistakes when it.
The 4s can certainly be creative like that. And I've known some 4s that can also be really good communicators about some of those deep things, whether it's in a creative way, an expressive way, or just in some sort of articulate way that really expresses kind of depth or the experience of those kind of deeper places in it's often very beautiful, sometimes very dark, but very, I think, touching sort of a way. That's very unique that other numbers, other types of personalities don't have the ability to do.
Yeah, I think, there's a risk of getting sidetracked here, but I think in some ways in particular 4s, I think have probably some of the hardest time in relationships with 7s, because 7s can go deep, but they really don't care. Like it's at some point it's too boring because why are we spending our time? It's not really doing anything,
and it's too negative.
Yeah, exactly. and so I'm just trying to highlight kind of the extremes inside of that can be a really hard relationship because of what you're saying, like the 4 being deep. Quite frankly, the 4 is really deep. Those are the folks that kind of drive meaning in our world, I think.
Exactly, 100%. I would say I kind of waffle. I'm not sure. People have talked with me, challenged me a little bit just as we kind of close the episode here. I'm a 3 for sure, and I've got some 2 tendencies or some 2 patterns, maybe you could say, traits. But also I have a lot of 4 qualities, and I'm always looking for that depth, that meaning, which can be really good, and we can bring a lot of that to relationships. And in some ways, you can be your own worst enemy, right? Just like every number, the heart triad can be really wonderful and really great, but you also have to get to a place of health where you're at, so that you don't sink into that shame and that you don't just drive yourself to do things to earn your worth, but that you can see that you are good enough as you are, and then you can kind of move away from what the kind of that core piece of that is, and just embody the good, healthy qualities of those numbers.
Right. That's what I was just going to say. It's like the reality is, because we do need to talk about health as we close here. The healthiness is that you already are okay. You don't need to do something and then you're okay. You don't need to be a certain way and then you're okay. You don't need to understand something specifically and then you're okay. You already are. So it's as you grow, it's about learning to give yourself the space so that you don't get sucked in into the big whirlwind of what you think you should be doing. And the hardest place to do that is in your intimate relationships, because that's where 2s, 3s, and 4s are going to get sucked into the meaning and the depth and go it's and you got to give yourself space, step back, and relax in several steps.
And have a great day.
Oh, have a great day, Aaron.
I stole it. I was like, yeah, I'm doing it. I stole it from us. You're precious.
Oh my Lord.
I thought you were gonna say it, and have a great day. And I'm like, nope, I'm going for it. That was good.
Oh my goodness.